but I believe the great is still yet to come. I won't stop fighting, man, until I'm...
Good morning. Welcome to the 38th Breakfast Ball. I am your host, Bob Cardia. To my far left, and your far right, the dashing Richie Stoltz. And back on set after a long, successful European tour. Okay. DMD, David Gibson Jr. Yes. Okay. Anyway, fellas, a couple quick things. Remember, if you get anything out of this podcast, Richie?
When you're rich and famous, we get 10%.
10%. Very good. Thank
Always
you.
10%. We don't discriminate.
No, of course not. We yeah. Anyway, whoops, I forgot last week, and you know what? You guys got to tackle me when I forget stuff. But if you're one of the first 10 people to say, I love the Breakfast Ball, right? You're one of the first 10, we put you into a hat, and we draw a free Starbucks gift card. So last week's winner is non-existent because I blew it. So we have an extra one. So if you guys write, I love the Breakfast Ball in the comments section, you have a chance to win a Starbucks gift card. Oh, and yes, last but not least, subscribe. We're like at 350 or so, and I mean, we're pushing 200,000 views, so I'm loving life right now. So at this pace, we'll get to our initial goal of 1,000 subscribers somewhere in a little over a year. So we'd be thrilled about that for sure, right, guys?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, anyway, first quote of the day. Actually, we're going to be talking a little bit today. So we talked about trial by fire last week and learning to win, because learning, winning and learning are interconnected, right? So what I'm telling people is, most people don't realize, how do I put this? Really my quote, how's that? An important understanding is that concentration is a learned skill. Okay, it's a learned skill. So we're going to talk a little bit about Rotella. We're going to talk a little about Lure. We're going to talk a little bit about Tom Coughlin from the New York Football Giants, right? Because Richie was talking before the show how much he loves when I talk about the New York Giants.
I don't understand. We're talking sports psychology.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking how to win.
Right. Well,
not how to.
DMJ. We're talking to a Cowboys fan. The last time that they won a Super Bowl, I think Abraham Lincoln was in office. I'm fairly sure of that. Right.
Okay. We haven't won a Super Bowl in a while.
They talk about how good Dak is.
We can at least get to. Well,
Yeah.
hold on.
Yeah.
When have I said that? Okay. Listen, I have my own problems with him. I have my own problems with him.
Right.
All right. I think he should watch the podcast.
Yeah, some sports psychology. Yes.
Right.
I think he should
mental
watch
toughness.
Yes, I think
Yes.
he should watch the podcast. I think he has his own issues. Never once did I say that. But they always want to take everything I say. Every other fan of every team wants to take everything I say out of context. It's no.
I think it's just because
No,
since you grew up in this area and you're a Cowboys fan, people just don't understand. I think that's what the issue is. That's why they give you a hard time.
Yeah, but I don't understand how you can be an Eagles fan in the first place.
Well, I agree with that, but that's just
And then when the Giants just get injured and lose.
Yes, they get injured all the
okay,
time. I
what do you
know.
want-
I know.
What do you want from me?
Well, I go back. I understand why people could be Eagles fan. You're from the area. You're proud. I don't understand the mentality of, like, when the Giants beat the Eagles. Like, I'll wear my jersey the next day and I'll my chest puffed out and be proud and happy. My first inclination is not to call my 4 best Eagle friends and say, you suck, haha. When the Eagles beat the Giants, I get calls from people I haven't heard from in like years.
I get the same.
I
It's
know.
unbelievable.
It's like
they're the worst fan base in the country.
They call themselves passionate, but they're actually one of my guys on our Rutgers team said, "Yeah, we take pride in being jerks." I'm like, why? This doesn't work in life.
Yeah,
doesn't make any friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
Point made.
We get a
Don't
bad
be an
rap.
Eagles fan.
Eagles
Don't
fans
be
get a
an
bad
Eagles fan.
rap.
Well, you guys
All
do it
just
to
go,
yourselves.
right. Go
You guys
pick
do it to
sandals, more
yourselves.
snowballs. Why don't you? All right. All right. Well, back to the topic anyway. Okay.
Back on track.
Yeah, we're back. Okay. All right. So anyway, yes, the important understanding is that concentration is a learned skill. So what Lure had in his book was a term called passive concentration, which is a total loss of self-consciousness in the act of focusing. Okay. So we all know, because like when you're played a really good round, and you start thinking, well, man, if I can just par the last 3 holes, that's my best score ever. Like, the second you start thinking about the actual process rather than being engaged in the process is when you go down faster than the Titanic. We've had actually a bunch of great players, and a bunch of our guys at Rutgers that had these amazing rounds going in some of the biggest stages in their careers, and they just started thinking, and rather than engaging in the process. So we teach a lot, between all of us, hundreds of lessons a month. So I'm amazed how many people think that the concentration is not a learned skill. They think concentration is something, you either have it or you don't have it. Like, I had a friend of mine, she would say, well, I'm not a test taker. And like, the studies show, like, the more you try to work on concentration skills and strategies, you can increase your concentration. So I'm going to throw it out to you guys. What are your observations about that?
Yeah, I think I do agree it's a learned skill, obviously. Yeah. I think it is. I think some people are better at it than others naturally. Mm-hmm.
Physically too, that's the
yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think some people, and I think that's where it gets where someone says it's not a learned skill, it's, I either have it or I don't, is, if you're not born with something, I just don't have it.
Yeah.
I just don't have concentration like blank person.
Yep.
And okay, you might not be able to concentrate as much as, the person next to you to start, but that doesn't mean you can't work on it. That doesn't mean you can't, move forward towards trying to be better at concentrating.
Like a Gary Player type of guy, right? Like, he's a small statured kind of guy, right? So, obviously he has great hand-eye coordination, but like, I love it, and I believe it's his quote. I've heard him say it. He said, they say I get lucky, because he's a small, slight guy, right? Great shape, by the way. He's a fitness guru. But he's like, the harder, they say I'm lucky, but the harder I work, the luckier I seem to get. Mm-hmm. And that's true. Like, there's a guy who's not a big, strong, powerful, like, you think, hey, he's like the prototype of an athlete. But that guy, mentally strong as all hell, right? Because that guy's an opinionated dude. I love the Black Knight, man. I love that guy. But like, he believes what he believes, which obviously has worked for him, and he trains his body the way he trains it. And guess what? That guy's in his 80s, and he's still beating 98% of the golf population. So yes, David, how about you? What are you thinking?
So I just watched a video Bryson was talking about. I believe it was his major win, the one where he had like a 4.5 footer to beat Rory slightly up the hill, and he was talking about that putt. And he said, all I do in that moment is zone out to earlier in the day when I was on the practice green. And all he thinks about is his concentration when he was on the practice green and how they were rolling that morning. Mm-hmm. And he puts himself there. I think that's that total loss of self. Right?
Yeah.
He's totally not thinking about the moment, but he's thinking about his practice, and he's thinking about how he was hitting it earlier today.
Yep.
And he's just right there with it.
That's actually a great point. And I, when I was in high school, this was always interesting because I hit golf balls at Big Swing all the time.
You did, man. You were proud.
All the time when I was in high school.
So you're a great example of a work ethic because, this guy used to, in high school, he would get up like hours before high school started, which I have to usually roll some of my kids out. And he'd go to Big Swing and he'd practice before the school even started. Yeah. Which I love it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But no, they had a couple greens out there on the range, and when I was on the golf course, like I always whenever I'm at the range, I can hit it at that target all day long, and almost felt like I never missed.
Yep.
And then I get to the golf course and I miss a couple shots. And what I would like to do is, instead of, or I guess not instead of, but I would think, okay, let's just pretend I'm at the range for a second, and that I'm just gonna hit this shot exactly how I would at the range, and I'd imagine the range out there. And, I got my green, my target out there where the hole is, and I'm just going to go, okay, I'm just going to hit towards the target. Perfect. I'm like, there we go. Look at that. I'm just at the driving range again.
So I'm going to move things around a little bit because you just hit on something that was a topic for today.
Look at that.
And I'm still at the end of that lore book, which is interesting. And he gave a 3-step method for gaining emotional control. Okay, so pay attention to the third one because the third one is exactly what you just discussed. The first one, though, is become still inside. Practice for triggering positive emotions. Okay, so if you find yourself stressed, just try to get an internal calm going. Okay, and then focus on something positive. Try to be optimistic. Try to be determined. Whatever the joy, right, rather than stress. Try to get those feelings going in your body. 2, visualize. And I love the way he defined visualization. It's simply thinking in pictures instead of words, right? Because a lot of people, when they start thinking about, like, I do, when I start thinking about direct quotes and voluminous information, I get a little bit, like, stuck on the academic side of it. But if you just picture, like, a beautiful high blow-on draw, right, in your head and what that looks like, that's way cooler, right? I mean, that's at least for me, because my head gets cluttered sometimes. And then last, this is Richie. This is my the dashing Richie Stoltz. Basically, what he says is your finest hour. So from this day forward, practice or play like you're triggering your own ideal performance state. Right? So let's go with this. Let's just say the best round you ever had. Okay, while you're playing, so no longer show up at practice or practice and a competitive round. Never show up and boy, all right, I got to think well today. I really want to think well today. It's like, hey, there's an alligator behind you, right? Like that. Yeah. You go out there and try what your finest hour of play was, and he actually relates it to academics or whatever it was, like a speech you gave or something. That state that you had at that point, your finest hour, right? Go out there with that feeling while you're practicing, while you're playing. You always want to trigger your own ideal performance state when you're out there. And like you said on the range, right? Yep. That feeling that you had on the driving range that day, put that, So at that point, now you're absorbed and you're focused in the process of your performance state and not thinking about anything else, which is the passive consciousness that we were talking about. So Richie, you just actually illustrated that whole point.
Yeah. Well, another thing too, number 2, if you take a look at Jason Day, the visualization, when he was number 1 in the world, and he still does it now. If you watch him play, he'll set up behind the golf ball and close his eyes. And what he's doing is he's visualizing the shot right before he goes to hit it.
You didn't read the book, did you?
No, I didn't read the book.
It's crazy.
Did he mention Jason Day?
Yeah, no, but it talks about the visualization. He said that, visualization. Okay. The best way to do it is with your eyes closed.
Yeah.
So, okay, very good.
He would close his eyes and watch him play. Watch Jason Day on tour, if he ever can. And he'll step behind the golf ball, 6 to 8 feet behind the golf ball.
6 to 8 feet, baby. best
and close his eyes for a couple seconds.
Yeah.
And what he's doing, he said he's visualizing his shot before he hits it.
I love it. So
that stuff.
Okay. Well, another. Hey, that's good, man. You're great today. Let's go. Richie's got his A game going today. So okay, the second one for strategies for playing competitive rounds, trial by fire, was the Tom Coughlin thing that I've talked about multiple times. We have a lot of players that tell us that they get a good round going early on. Like the front nine was great, there's like 6 holes to play, and they start thinking about the future, what could happen, and they fall apart. So the last Super Bowl that Coughlin won, he did something called segmentation. They did not play a 16-game season. They did play a 16-game season, but the Giants, the way they did it is he broke the season up into 4-game seasons. Okay, so after the first 4 games, let's say there were 2-2. Okay, that season's over. Now we're playing, the next 4 games, right? So when you go and do that in golf, okay, you're not playing 18 holes. You might even play 9 holes. You're playing 6 3-hole rounds.
Yeah.
So take your best, like especially on the golf course that take your best 3 holes. Try to trigger your ideal performance state for those 3. And once those 3 holes are over, okay, because our home course, which is Rancocas, that golf course, if you can get through the first 7 holes of that golf course, typically you're going to be okay, unless you do something stupid on 18. But that is what some of our guys do. But anyway, par 5, creech into it's over water, whatever. Okay. So if you segment your round into 6 3-hole rounds, that a lot of times will help. And I know Q was doing that for a while, right? Because you can't control anything that happened 5 minutes ago or 5 minutes in the future. You can only focus on the present. Have you ever tried segmentation?
Yes, so I've done segmentation. I've also done something else that I think I talked to you about before, and I love this. It's almost like a game. It's different from segmentation.
Okay.
But I go out there, and obviously I start the round at even par, and I have one goal: get to 1 under. That's it. Get to 1 under par. So all you're doing is trying to get to 1 under par. If you get to 2 over par, you actually reset it even. If you get to 1 under, you reset it even.
Yeah,
And
it's a variation of segmentation.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not segmentation like you put it there.
Yeah.
But yes, it is almost like a variation of it.
I
Where
love it. Yeah.
if I birdie the first hole and back it even, I just got to get to 1 under. And the first day I did that, I think I shot
14 under.
No, I wish that'd be nice. No, I think I shot 5 under.
Yeah.
I think I shot 5 under that day, and I was just like, I remember I got done the round, and I'm like, okay, what'd I shoot? And I'm like looking at the score because I didn't even know, and that's like the great part of it is you don't know what you shot if you're not paying attention because the only thought in your head is, okay, let's get to 1 under, let's get to 1 under, let's get to 1 under. I just can't get to 2 over. Let's get to 1 under, and you do that over and over and over again. Next thing you know, I have 5 birdies, 0 bogeys, and I'm like, well, that was easy.
Yeah. it's I love because when you tell stories and I tell stories and David tells stories, like it just reminds you of stuff like in the mind and the thought process. I when I was young and I played high school golf, and which was I think I told you this. My daughter had her junior high graduation, right? So they because of the size of the crowd they had it at the high school gym.
Okay.
So I'm sitting down and I have all the banners in the high school because Cherry Hill East actually won the state championship, which is better than we did when I was there. But I look it up with the banners, and there's only like maybe 6 conference championships up there in the whatever 50 years that school's been there. And 3 of the 4 up there are my team. I'm just saying, just saying, right? Just saying. But anyway, I remember I could remember every shot I hit in detail when I played when I was younger, and I'm not sure that was great because I think I was dwelling too much on if you can remember everything before that you did while you're playing, it's probably not a great thing, right? So what I don't know when I played that World Teachers Cup 15 years ago, I played about as well as I could for what I have left with the fused vertebrae that I have. I played about as well as I could, and I whatever. Let's just say it was a 78. Let's just say I played with a guy named Henry Van Antwerp, who played his junior golf with Ernie Els, and I had no idea what he shot, which was good because when the round was over, I think he shot 60 something. I think and it was like if I had focused on how badly he was beating me, I would have struggled. But It's interesting. I like the way you put that. That was beautiful.
Yeah, and I will say, if you do ever remember shots that you hit, only remember what shots.
Good ones.
The good ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I forget who I said this to as well, but I think it might have been Pat.
Mm-hmm.
But I told him, if I have a 3-foot putt, I'm never gonna miss it.
Yeah.
I mean, let's look at stats for a second. I'm probably going to miss him here or there.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone misses him.
It's
at
a
some
surprisingly decent total when you look at Pel's stuff.
Yeah, you're going to make...
But you step up to that putt.
But every time I step up to a 3-footer, I'm not nervous.
Yeah, I'm making it.
Because I know I've never missed a 3-footer in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that goes back to...
Brad Faxon.
No, not Brad Faxon.
Phil Mickelson?
No, he missed the putt on the final hole.
Nicholas.
Yes. Brain fart there.
Jack Nicklaus. You missed the putt on 18 to make the ties. I didn't miss it. Jack, you missed the putt. No, I didn't miss it. Mr. Nicholas, you missed the putt. The putt didn't go in. He said, "Well, that's different, right?" Which is it, right? He believed, and that's what when I do putting mechanics, because there's an art and a science to putting, and I tell people that all the time. It's a little bit of both, but once you pick your line, like that Sharpie line on that golf ball, once you pick that line, you fully commit to it. You think to yourself, if I hit this putt on that line, this stupid ball's got no choice but to go in the hole. If you think that way, you're a much better player.
That's the thought that goes through my mind, especially with the 3-foot, 3-4 foot. If I hit this down that line, it's going in.
Yep. And that gets back to Rotella, and we outline Rotella for our Rutgers guys. Staying in the present. That's his big shtick. So again, it's overly simplified in this, and we'll talk about more Rotella later. But again, if you can just focus on one shot at a time, one swing at a time, that's if you're going to start with just one principal strategy, that's a pretty good one to start with. Yeah. All right, so David didn't do this one. Richie just did. So, is there anything you guys do to stay? Well, actually, we can readdress both of us. Is there anything you do to stay in an ideal performance state? Have you ever even thought about it?
Yeah, for sure. I would say, and people ask me this all the time, how can I be more focused? I hit great at the range, I go out on the golf course, and it's not the same.
Yep.
Pre-shot routine. I mean, that's something right there. That centers your mind.
Yeah,
that calms yourself. I have lots of people who say that first tee, their hands are shaking.
Yeah, of course.
And I go, you get the nerves. You gotta do something to take yourself out of that, right? So 6 to 8 feet behind the golf ball.
Yeah.
Set yourself up. From that point on, I tell people, I kind of zone the world out. Richie taught me that you could have air horns blowing off. There could be helicopters coming.
Yeah.
And if he's 6 to 8 feet behind the golf ball, there's nothing that's stopping him. And I learned from that, you know?
So I remember, Bob, when I played for you, it was the first year I played for you, because I love this story. It was over at Pennsauken, and I think the one hole had like a railroad track behind it.
It does.
Or at least
the
close
par 3.
to, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And, I remember I hit a shot, and it was perfect shot. And I forget who it was, but they look at me and they're like, man, that was a great shot, even with the train horn in the background.
Yeah.
And I go, huh?
Yep.
What train horn?
Oh
And they're like, the train horn that went. I'm like, there was a train horn. To this day, I can't tell you if there was actually a train horn or not.
Well,
because I have no idea. I never heard it.
That's the story I tell you guys are in groups all day long, but this is the Tom Kite story.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure it was the 1992 U.S. Open. It was one of the worst final round weather days of all time. There was pros shooting the 90s at the U.S. Open, right? And after it was over, Kite was sitting in the press conference, and like, hey, Mr. Kite, how did you do it? And he said, what do you mean? Like, that guy was so consumed in his pre-shot routine that Mount Vesuvius could be going off behind him, and he would have no idea.
Yeah.
You're right. That's a great pre-shot routine. It does two things. One, it engages you actively in your target. And two, it just helps you just focus on what that task is at hand. Love it, David.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. All right, so here's something we talked about a little bit last time, and I'm going to flip it just a little bit because it made me think. And again, I'm not I admire the heck out of Tiger Woods' ability and whatnot. I mean, I'm not the enormous fan that some other people are, but I do believe some of the stuff he did really should be studied in great detail. And this is. We said last week, like, in order to play better, the superhero pose, you puff out your chest, you put your chin up, and that releases cortisol or whatever the chemicals in your brain that produces a more positive result. Okay. Now, the inverse of that, right? So I'm reading a little bit more lore. Outstanding competitors generally have a very powerful physical presence. They exude confidence, strength, and calmness. Right? This often intimidates opponents. So, like, if you have that superhero pose, like, as opposed to the self-deprecating, this is just what happens to me. Like that actually gives your opponents more confidence. Or if you get angry, or if you say, I'm usually much better than this. I don't know what it is. It just shows the way you're thinking. But if you walk around with a calmness, a confidence, an optimism, that's you were that way. Q developed into that. Zach, it's like. When I pull up in my golf cart when I'm coaching these guys, I say, hey, David, hey, Richie, how's it going? And I just don't have it today. That's not what you want to hear as a coach. Coach, I don't have it right now, but you know what? I'm drilling down. I'm going to get this. And that's the belief system you want to have. So when you're playing competitive golf, if you're working on making a stronger physical presence for yourself, that also improves your competitive toughness. In the inverse manner also. It makes you more in your ideal performance state. And the guy you're playing against, it's like, oh man, this guy's got his shit together. Like that's no, sorry language, but what are you going to do? So what do you think of that?
Well, first thing, I'm never worried I'm never thinking of, anything that would intimidate the players I'm facing because I don't have to. I'm just going to beat them anyway.
Yeah, very good. There you go.
I don't have to intimidate you. I'm just going to take you down.
All right.
Whether that intimidates you or not, that's up to you.
That's right.
But no, I mean I don't know. I mean, just having a good presence about you, I don't think of it as intimidation towards the other player.
No,
I think of it
I
as,
didn't really think that way either. But,
Yeah,
but it is a great byproduct.
It is a great byproduct
Yeah.
for sure. Zach is probably the best example of that.
Yeah.
He'll intimidate anyone.
When Gloria was caddying for him that one time, and like he was just laser steely eyed, and the other guys in the group were like, "Dude, he doesn't talk. He's not very friendly." And Gloria said to the other guys, "He's not here to make friends. He's here to win." Yeah, which, if that's what you need to win, if that's what you need to stay in your own space, hey man, that's Hogan was famous for being that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's take our team when we won conferences, went to nationals, 2019.
19. Okay.
If you look at us versus Penn State Berks, I mean, which team, after never beating Penn State,
Yeah, we lost them
State
the
all
last
year.
2 or 3 times we played them,
Yeah.
and they were hosting the conference championship at their golf course.
Yeah, who was the ones with their chest pumped out? And I don't think we intimidated them.
No, I
But-
think they thought they could beat us, but I think once we started beating up on them, or once we got a lead, well,
And
the one thing I do that other coaches don't necessarily do, and I hate giving away trade secrets, is like we play in bad weather.
Yeah.
Like a lot of coaches cancel practice in bad weather, and I don't. I'm like, you know what? If it's crappy out, guess what? Yeah, championships are not won on sunny days.
Yeah.
So for everybody who says they won our job, right?
Yeah.
Okay. When it's snowing and raining, I'm forcing these guys to be out there, and they're cursing me when I'm not there. Guess what? It made us and to me that won us the conference championship because we went out there the week before for a practice round and the weather was pure crap.
Yeah.
And it was windy and rainy. We had to stop on the 16th hole because the ball was blowing off the putting green. I mean, I'm not saying windy like it's a breeze. The flags were snapping like this, and the ball was blowing off. We had to stop
It
playing.
was nuts.
Yeah, and
Absolutely
guess the
nuts.
first day of the conference championship, the following was
Same
almost
thing.
a carbon copy day.
Yeah.
I think we walked up with like a 17-stroke lead after the first round.
19.
19. Yeah,
19.
Game over. Like
Yeah.
that's it.
Beat them
So,
by 20 the next day, too.
Yeah. So
39
yeah.
shots. But no, our team just bled confidence that
Yeah.
whole week, that
Oh.
whole weekend.
Hey,
I mean,
folks,
it was.
Let's watch this. We got Coach Stoltz back now this year, right? And we're going to get you in here at some point too. This Rutgers, if you're looking to go to college, guys, we've lifted all our COVID mandates now, so we've been able to got Richie back, and this year's team should be significantly better.
Mhm.
But it's a young and raw team also, so a lot of what we do on this podcast, these kids should be watching this for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah. So David, a little quiet on your physical presence there. What?
You know what? I was just thinking the opposite of this idea, and this is great. I totally agree with this. If someone's body language is shrugging down the fairway, I got this kid beat.
Yep.
Like instantly.
Yep.
The opposite of this though is the kid who is way too confident. The kid who's trying to go over the trees, who's trying to do this. So I think manage both.
Yeah.
Well,
It's different. It's
So,
confidence versus.
it's course management, and
Yeah.
the finest example of that would be my son.
Yes.
I've been coaching at Rutgers now for over 30 years. I at one point we did because I had our old assistant take scorecards and did spreadsheets over hundreds of rounds, and we couldn't find anybody else who'd shot below. Was there 75 or 76 as many times as my son did, who only started like 6 matches in 4 years, because that one scorecard that we framed that one day, put $1 for a frame for it. It was like 5 or 6 birdies in a round and shot like 78. Like you can't take 2 or 3 nines, but you can't drive every green. Like that's just like that's
So,
yeah.
me and David, I think I had this conversation with you. If anyone knows me, I quote dodgeball. I quote dodgeball a lot. So, in lessons,
tells you a
I
lot
always say if
about
you can
Richie,
dodge a
doesn't it?
wrench, you can dodge a ball. If you can hit a penny, you can hit a golf ball. But the one me and you did, you guys ever watch the movie?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have said a long time ago. Yeah.
So, coach calls timeout middle of a match, and he pulls over the one guy on the team that's, he's a little bit more heavy set. He looks at his wife in the stands, and she's talking to another guy, and he's like all upset or whatever, and the coach looks at him. He's like, you gotta get angry, you gotta get mean. And I don't know if you remember this
Yes, I
conversation, but David was, and I love it. David was taking advice from us. He was saying, I'm not going to get angry.
Yeah.
Which, okay. But then you watch him play out there, and he hits a bad shot, and he's just like, ha, 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 ha. And, okay, you didn't get angry.
Yeah.
But, like, to an extent, I wanted to, flip that a little bit and say, let's not get angry in the sense that we're gonna go huck a golf club across the
spray
fairway.
my next
But
one, yeah.
let's take it like, okay, I just hit a bad shot. Like, I'm gonna get a little fired up here to hit this next.
We've
one.
had conversations about David. You're a fascinating individual because like I've never seen the guy get mad. Like you come on, focus, baby. Let's like so. When I talked to David on a golf course, David was our team captain, and he definitely led by a calm demeanor and attitude, which I loved. But like, sometimes I think we used to kid with you, get angry, like it's okay, it's
you gotta get mean. I think there was like if you over exaggerate either one of those spectrums, it doesn't help you. Right. When you meet somewhere in the middle,
yes, correct.
That's where you can see improvement, and that's what we were talking about. Was trying to get David not from one side of the spectrum to the other, but to get him to meet in the middle.
You got to play within your personality. Yeah, you can't take a person who is naturally laid back and make them an angry person. And no, we don't want to make you angry. You're right. There's the balance, and I think that it's something.
It goes with the same thing superhero pose and the confidence. That same balance of overconfidence and that normal confidence. There's that middle point.
Yep. Focus. Yeah. I love it. Well, anyway, today was the 38th Breakfast Ball. If you like what we're doing, please subscribe. We also have the new online store that's open all the time, so if you want to get merchandise, please by all means do. Our merchandise should be in pretty soon, I imagine, too.
Yes.
So I ordered it.
I don't have my mug today.
I know, I got my breakfast ball mug there, right? Okay. That's good. And we're giving those out to the people as we go. So, yes, Toby, I owe you a mug. I know. Anyway, anything to add at the end here?
When in doubt, quote dodgeball.
Yeah, right. Or get angry, or...
What do you guys think of this Scotty Scheffler stuff real quick? Like, he is on fire.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when do you think it's going to stop? Because with Tiger, people were like, when's it going to stop?
I agree.
So, when it comes to golf, I mean, we've all seen it. Someone catches fire for a little bit.
Yeah. It's been a while now, though. He's over, like, what, it's got to be...
It has been a while.
Yeah, well over a year.
I mean, I think I can see him more so being some sort of a Rory McIlroy in the future.
The only time will tell, really.
Well, that's true. That's true.
I mean, if it goes 2-3 years, and then it's it's like the Patriots when they won a Super Bowl or two, or the dynasty. But if he gets to now 3 or 4, that's dynasty.
Yeah.
So,
that's a good way of thinking of it.
Yeah,
like a year or two conversation
too. Yeah. Because I look at that stuff. That's a whole conversation for golf, how it's changed, by the way.
Yeah.
Because we always say the two most important words in golf are perfect balance. and you look at Scheffler on the driver, and it's golf has changed in its overall makeup. Like they've taken golf courses, they make them Tiger-proof. So they like when Nicklaus first came out, he hit the ball farther than most, and then Tiger, and they keep lengthening these golf courses to try to make them Tiger-proof. The only thing they ever did was made them Corey Pavin-proof or Brad Faxon-proof, or because the guys at the ball 280, 290 are no longer relevant. But what they've done is that they've bred guys like Scheffler and DeChambeau who swing out of their shoes on the driver, right? Because the fairway is only 40. Well, the fairway is 40 yards wide on the driver, so you don't have to be quite as accurate. So the perfect balance thing, driver accuracy is down on the PGA Tour. But on the LPGA Tour, where they haven't lengthened the golf courses, driver accuracy is way up because it still rewards more shot making than it does just bombing the driver. But that's a whole conversation for a different day. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I'm thrilled that you do, and we're working on each and every week giving you guys more material for mental toughness and performance psychology. So, I am your host, Bob Cardia, and remember, I love the breakfast ball in the comments. Okay. And on my far left,
the dashing Richie Stoltz.
And in the middle,
DMG.
You're down with DMG.
You know me.
All right, guys, have a great week.
Glass of bourbon, ha. My bourbon, ha. My bourbon, ha. Alcohol is no no great story ever started with, I'll have a salad.